What's up, Reds? You're not going to believe what's been happening at the City Ground this weekend. And I mean absolutely mental stuff that's got the entire football world talking about our beloved Nottingham Forest. Something massive is brewing at Trentside. Something that's got Evangelos Marinakis opening those purse strings like we've never seen before. And trust me when I say this. What I'm about to tell you will have you jumping off your sofa, calling your mates, and planning your trip to the City Ground for what could be the most exciting season in Forest's recent history. We're talking about moves that nobody saw coming, Instagram activity that's got transfer experts going absolutely barmy, and negotiations that are making headlines across Europe. Can you feel that electricity in the air? That's the sound of a football club that's not just dreaming big anymore, but actually making those dreams reality. We've got England internationals choosing the mighty Reds over some of the biggest clubs in world football. We've got social media clues that would make Sherlock Holmes proud. And we've got Italian giants playing hardball in negotiations that could reshape our entire midfield. But here's the thing that's got me absolutely buzzing. This isn't just about one signing or two signings or even three signings. This is about a complete transformation of what it means to be Nottingham Forest in 2025. Are you ready to see your club competing with the very best? Are you ready to watch European football under the lights at the City Ground? Because if you're not subscribed to this channel yet, you're missing out on the biggest Forest revolution since we conquered Europe. And honestly, not hitting that subscribe button right now would be like turning down a season ticket to watch Brian Clough's greatest team. So smash that subscribe button like you're celebrating a last-minute winner against Derby. Hit that notification bell like your life depends on it, because what's coming next will blow your mind and change everything you thought you knew about our beloved club. The stories I'm about to share with you aren't just transfer updates. They're glimpses into a future where Nottingham Forest are mentioned in the same breath as Europe's elite, where young stars choose us over the mega clubs, where our name strikes fear into opponents rather than hope. Right then, let's dive into the first bombshell that's got everyone talking. The football world went absolutely mental yesterday when news broke that would change everything we thought we knew about Nottingham Forest's transfer strategy. Picture this scene. It's a quiet Saturday afternoon. Forest fans are preparing for another season of hoping and dreaming when suddenly the City Ground's phone starts ringing with calls from Manchester. But not just any calls. These are the kind of calls that make football directors drop their tea and start frantically making arrangements. What happened next was the kind of transfer coup that usually only happens in Football Manager, the kind of signing that makes rival fans question everything they thought they knew about the football hierarchy. James McAtee, England under-21 captain, European Championship winner, Manchester City's golden boy, has just signed a 5-year deal with Nottingham Forest. 5 years, people. This isn't some loan move. This isn't some trial period. This is a young man who's looked at the biggest clubs in Europe and said, "No thanks. I want to play for the mighty Reds." Can you believe what you're hearing right now? A player who's been courted by every major club on the continent has chosen our Forest, chosen the City Ground, chosen to be part of something special that's building in Nottingham. But here's where it gets even more incredible. Ross Wilson didn't just stumble into this signing. Oh no! This has been a masterclass in football recruitment that's been brewing for over a month. While other clubs were making flashy headlines and throwing money around like confetti, our Ross was quietly building relationships, having conversations with McAtee's family, convincing a European Championship winning captain that his future lay in the famous red of Nottingham Forest. And when McAtee had time to reflect on his next step after lifting that U21 trophy, guess which club he chose? That's right, our beloved Reds. Do you realize what this means for the atmosphere at the City Ground this season? We're talking about watching an England international pull on that famous red shirt. We're talking about European football nights where the crowd will be singing the name of a player who turned down the riches of the Premier League elite to be part of our story. This isn't just a signing. This is a statement of intent that echoes from the Trent end to the executive boxes, telling the football world that Nottingham Forest are no longer just participants in this game. We're contenders. Think about the message this sends to other potential signings. If James McAtee, a player who could walk into most Premier League teams, chooses Forest over everyone else, What does that tell you about what Nuno Espirito Santo is building? What does that tell you about the conversations happening behind closed doors? The promises being made, the vision being shared. This signing isn't just about adding quality to the squad. It's about changing the entire narrative around what it means to be Nottingham Forest in the modern game. And if you think that's where the excitement ends, you haven't heard anything yet, because what happened next on social media had transfer detectives working overtime. Something absolutely fascinating happened in the digital world yesterday that's got every Forest fan refreshing their phones and checking Instagram like their lives depend on it. Picture the scene. Omari Hutchinson has just been announced as a Nottingham Forest player. The social media team have posted those beautiful photos of him holding up the red shirt. Fans are celebrating in the comments, and then something magical happens that nobody could have predicted. Among all the likes and fire emojis from excited supporters, one particular like appears that sends the Forest faithful into absolute meltdown. Douglas Luiz, the Juventus midfielder who's been the subject of transfer whispers for months, has liked Hutchinson's announcement post. Now you might think, so what? Players like posts all the time. But hold on to your scarves, because this isn't just any random interaction. These two players share the same agent. This isn't coincidence. This isn't casual social media browsing. This is the kind of hint that makes transfer windows absolutely electric. Can you imagine the conversations happening behind the scenes right now? Picture Douglas Luiz sitting in Turin watching his phone, seeing his potential future teammate being welcomed to the club he's been desperate to join. And that little heart emoji click is basically him saying, I want to be part of this too. It's like watching a player wave goodbye to his current club and hello to his future without saying a single word. The beauty of modern football transfers isn't just what happens in boardrooms anymore. It's these little digital breadcrumbs that tell us so much more than official statements ever could. But here's what's got me absolutely convinced this means something huge. Forest have just signed James McAtee from Manchester City as well. They're building something special with these young English talents, and Douglas Luiz can see the project taking shape. He's watching from Italy as Nottingham Forest assemble a squad capable of competing in the Europa League, capable of making noise in the Premier League, and he wants to be the experienced head in that midfield, the player who can guide these young stars to greatness. Do you feel that anticipation building? That sense that something massive is about to happen? Because social media might seem like just fun and games, but in the modern transfer market, it's often the first sign that a deal is closer than anyone realizes. And when a player of Douglas Luiz's caliber starts interacting with your new signings posts, you know the dominoes are starting to fall in exactly the right direction. Think about what this means from a psychological perspective. Luiz is already mentally preparing himself to be part of this group. He's already seeing himself in a Forest shirt, already imagining what it would be like to play alongside these exciting young talents. The fact that he's publicly showing interest, even in such a subtle way, tells you everything about his mindset and his desires. This isn't a player who's content to stay at Juventus and fight for a place in their plans. This is a midfielder who's looking at Nottingham Forest and thinking, that's where I want to be. That's the project I want to be part of. The excitement is building, the pieces are falling into place, and that Instagram like might just be the first domino in a transfer saga that ends with one of Europe's top midfielders calling the City ground home. The football world loves an official announcement, and yesterday Nottingham Forest delivered one that had journalists scrambling to update their headlines and fans celebrating like we just won the Premier League. The club's official website dropped a statement that made everything crystal clear about just how massive this James McAtee signing really is. Ross Wilson didn't just speak about this transfer, he absolutely gushed about it in a way that tells you everything you need to know about the ambition driving this football club forward. Listen to these words from our chief football officer. It goes without saying that we're absolutely delighted to welcome James to Nottingham Forest. He's a player we've admired for a long time, and our conversations with Manchester City, James, his family, and his representatives over the past month have been incredibly constructive. A month of conversations. This wasn't some last-minute panic buy. This wasn't some opportunistic swoop. This was a carefully orchestrated campaign to convince one of England's brightest talents that his future belonged at the City ground. But the bit that'll give you goosebumps is when Wilson talks about the England under-21 connection. We are proud to now have 3 extremely exciting young talents from the group that lifted the U21 Euro trophy with Elliot Anderson, Omari Hutchinson, and now James. How's 3 European Championship winners? Can you wrap your head around what that means for the identity of this football club? We're not just buying random players anymore. We're assembling a core of winners. Players who know what it takes to succeed at the highest level. Players who've already tasted glory together and want more of it. And here's the part that shows you just how much this signing means to the dressing room. Wilson revealed that our players have been excited about the possibility of him arriving, and now we can officially welcome him into the group. The current squad were excited. These aren't players going through the motions. These aren't teammates who see new signings as threats to their positions. These are footballers who recognize quality when they see it and can't wait to play alongside someone of McAtee's caliber. McAtee himself spoke about feeling ready for a new challenge and wanting to build on Forest's great season last year. This isn't a player settling for a stepping stone. This is a young man who's looked at what Nuno Espírito Santo has built and said, I want to be part of taking this to the next level. The ambition is infectious, the belief is genuine, and the excitement is absolutely electric. What strikes me most about this whole situation is the professionalism and planning that's gone into making it happen. Forest haven't just thrown money at a problem. They've identified exactly the type of player they need. They've done their homework on his character and his family, and they've presented a vision that's so compelling that a Manchester City star has chosen them over everyone else. That's the kind of recruitment strategy that separates the dreamers from the achievers, and it tells you everything about where this club is heading under the current leadership. But while celebrations continue for what we've already achieved, the real drama is happening behind the scenes in negotiations that could define our entire season. The transfer saga that's keeping every Forest fan on the edge of their seats involves Douglas Luiz and a negotiation battle that's more intense than a relegation six-pointer. Juventus are playing hardball in a way that would make even the most experienced poker player sweat. And the stakes couldn't be higher for what this could mean to our Europa League campaign. Picture the scene in boardrooms across Europe. Forest officials are desperately trying to structure a deal that works. Juventus executives are laying down demands that seem almost impossible to meet. And Douglas Luiz is caught in the middle, knowing his Premier League return depends on these two clubs. Finding common ground. Here's where it gets absolutely fascinating from a football business perspective. Forest are offering around $35 million, but want to structure it as a loan with an option to buy. The kind of deal that gives them flexibility and protects their investment. It's smart business from our perspective, especially when you're balancing Premier League survival with European competition costs. But Juventus aren't having any of it. They want guarantees. They want that $35 million locked in with an obligation to buy. They want to know that if they let their midfielder go, they're definitely getting their money. Can you feel the tension in these negotiations? It's like watching two chess grandmasters trying to outmaneuver each other, except the prize isn't just a trophy, it's a player who could transform our entire midfield. Douglas Luiz has already agreed personal terms with Forest. He wants this move to happen. He's ready to return to the Premier League, where he made over 200 appearances for Aston Villa. The player is committed, the desire is there, but football transfers aren't just about what players want, they're about what clubs can agree. The pressure is mounting on Forest to find a solution because Juventus have made it clear they're not budging on their demands. They've even included Luiz in their squad for pre-season games, showing they're perfectly happy to keep him if the right offer doesn't materialize. It's the kind of negotiation brinkmanship that makes transfer windows absolutely electric, where every day that passes could be the day everything changes or the day dreams die. But here's what gives me hope about this whole situation. Nottingham Forest don't make promises they can't keep. And if they're pushing this hard for Douglas Luiz, it's because they believe he's the missing piece in something special they're building. The question now is whether our club can find a creative solution that satisfies Juventus while protecting our own interests. And honestly, the answer to that question might determine just how far we can go in Europe this season. What's really interesting about this whole saga is how it demonstrates Forest's new position in the football hierarchy. We're no longer begging players to consider us. We're in genuine negotiations with top European clubs for established international play.